Good evening and welcome to Why Soul Works. I am Kendall Bird, VP of Brand here at Soul Naturals. Thank you for joining us tonight. So grateful that you could take some time out of your day to join us live, and we appreciate you doing that. And to comment, and we'll watch for your comments. If you have questions or comments you want to make during the show, we will try to make that part of the show. So thank you for that. One part of our health that sometimes gets overlooked is digestive health. And indeed, it's probably the most important, or at least the first thing you should think about when trying to solve a health issue, because it is so important that we are assimilating all the nutrients that we need and also eliminating the things that our body needs to get rid of. And in fact, that's what we're mostly talking about this evening is elimination. And sometimes that's hard to talk about because of some of the taboos and things that surround that part of our lives. But we have a product that helps with the organ that is mainly responsible for that, the colon, and our product is called FasTract, and it's a magnificent product for that. In fact, let's talk about that now on Why Soul Works. Well, today, again, we have Greg Halliday. He's come and joined us again, and we're so thankful for him to do that with us. I am so impressed with Greg. He has an incredible mind that not only a business mind, but a great assimilation and retention mind for information that he hears, and he can understand it and then share that with us. And I'm so grateful and impressed with him, and happy that he could be with us here tonight. Thanks, Greg.
Good to be with you, Kendall.
Now, like I said, this topic can sometimes be a little bit hard to talk about, and sometimes it's easier to talk about it via a metaphor. And I understand you have a metaphor about trains.
I do.
What do
Yes.
trains have to do with the colon and elimination?
Well, actually, trains, they kind of have everything to do with it. In fact, it is all about trains. It's a metaphor I heard years ago. I liked it. I've been blessed to be around people who have been able to, not only do they have a lot of background, both in helping others, but also in research and in sort of the scientific validation of what we'll talk about tonight, but they've been able to teach in a way that sticks in my mind, and I hope that I can pass that on to a few of you this evening, or those who might listen to the recording. So I've heard years ago that it is about trains. In fact, when you think about the colon, our large intestine, and making sure, as Kendall said, that we're eliminating those things that cannot stay inside of us, or if they do stay and they get recycled through systems, they're going to cause problems, and over time, chronic situations that can become bigger and bigger issues, really about as big as it gets in terms of health problems. So it is a critical issue. And trains, what I heard is that 3 trains in, 3 trains out. So that was the phrase I was taught. So the trains would be nutrition, food, meals. You could kind of any of the above. And every time a train comes in, a train should leave the station. Again, be eliminated every time. Usually when you say that, the first time someone goes, what? You mean every time you eat, the colon has a bowel movement? Most people don't say that part because people don't like to say it. But, a train leaves the station. Mm-hmm. And it seems like a lot, but absolutely, that is really optimal health. And for so many people, they're not stopping the trains from coming in the station. 3 are coming in, but they may only have a train leave the station every once a day or every couple of days, or even not as uncommon as you might guess, every several days. So the thing that I would like to suggest maybe tonight is that if you have 3 trains coming in the station and only 1 train is leaving the station, you have traffic. And you don't want traffic. In fact, tonight we're going to talk about solving the traffic problem. And that's sort of the angle we'll take to talking about FasTract. So, any other thoughts or questions on the trains, Kendall?
Let's get into it.
Okay, let's get into it. So let's look at our first slide. Life can have a way of slowing us down. In fact, it happens really silently. We just little by little get used to things not being as they could be. And general sluggishness in our colon or in the trains, being able to get out of the station, actually translates about across the board everywhere. Ultimately, we can feel like the brain's a little foggy and slower thinking. We can feel like energy, it takes more to get us going. There's a lot of things that can just happen more slowly and less flexibly and adaptively than they really could. And so at the center of this is our topic tonight. FasTract was really developed to stimulate movement in the trains. Not only does it move the trains faster, hence FasTract, they move through the digestive tract or down the track, if you want to think of it that way, at a better pace, at a good pace. But FasTract also has ingredients that are about soothing and healing and improving the environment of the colon, because that's important. That's why in this slide, it mentions that FasTract is an activator of the colon, but it also has ingredients like aloe vera, for example, that are gentle and won't cramp your style, or in other words, cause undue experiences of pain and suffering while we're trying to fix the traffic problem. That's really what FasTract is all about. So I want to give a shout out for just a second to Valerie Bledsoe. Here's a nice picture of Valerie. She's a Solle Elite 75K. Many of you probably know Valerie. Thanks to Valerie, we get to have our discussion because she gave one of the best trainings on this product and this topic that I've ever heard. And I've heard some very good ones from a number of really good Soul leaders. But Valerie, I love this. Shout out to you. Thank you. We're taking this from the training Valerie gave us around the time that FasTract was launched. And if you look really closely at that picture, we want to move things better for better health, right? Yeah, Tammy says, Val, our train engineer. Excellent. Yes, I like that, Tammy. You might be seeing a somewhat blurry picture of Val's car. She does have a car that goes very fast, her Soul car. You'll have to ask her about that. So I think it's appropriate that she talk about movement and more speed in our movement. Here are some thoughts from Valerie. First, the function of a healthy colon. It's part of the large intestine, part of our digestive system. It reabsorbs fluids and it processes waste to prepare them for elimination. A great short sentence for what the colon does now. Further, Valerie shared this story. One day the body parts were arguing why each of them should be the boss. I should be in charge, said the bowel, because I'm responsible for waste removal. And all the other body parts laughed at the bowel. So in a huff, the bowel shut down tight. Within a few days, the brain had a terrible headache, the stomach was bloated, the legs were wobbly, the eyes got watery, the blood became toxic, and all the organs together decided, yep, the bowel should be the boss. I love this story. Not the first time I heard it. I just like the way Valerie told it. Continuing with Valerie's information, her training. How do we know when the boss isn't happy? The boss is the colon. Well, look at this list. Skin problems, all sorts of types of indigestion and gas, constipation, headaches, hemorrhoids. I don't think we always associate that with the boss, the colon boss being unhappy. Chronic fatigue, asthma. I can attest to that. One of the keys in my own life to improving greatly the asthma situation was when I started taking, actually in my case, a daily supplement for the colon. This was before Solle was founded. And one of the very influential experiences in my life that became part of our Solle formulas, and we have two of them. We have the Omnitox and then the one we're talking about today, which is FasTract. So yeah, asthma, insomnia, menstrual pain. I don't know how many people just sort of generally out there look at menstrual pain as an issue with the colon boss, or the trains being caught up in traffic, but it is. Arthritis, all sorts of inflammatory situations, and many, many more, says Valerie. Further, Valerie points out the nervous system and energetic connections, the reflex mapping that happens throughout the colon. I mean, if you look at one thing you can't see, you don't have, there's tons to read on this slide. And if you can see this on a large enough screen, there are 40, let's see, well, I'm going up to 50, 65, 71. There are 71 reflex points on this graphic of the colon. Every point along the intestinal tract is reflexively related to a specific body part, shares Valerie. Now that's something just to pause for a second and think about. So, Valerie teaches, detoxify that reflex area in the colon and watch a huge impact in overcoming a certain disease state. So this makes sense the more you read about the sheer volume of nerve connections from our gut to our brain. And just reminder, Dr. Allison's teaching, her training, that 90%, this is her pointing out research, that 90% of the messages between the gut and the brain flow from the train station up to the thoughts, our thought center, our brain. Think about that and all these reflex points, and what a difference problems or traffic in the colon have, and the interference they create in health, not just in physical health, but in emotional and overall holistic health. So to me, this is a fascinating chart, and it's very interesting to think about this. And the first thing I say is, okay, well, what can I do about that? Because this is something that definitely, in line with the story about the organs arguing over who should be the boss, validates the power that our colon has in how able we are to keep our health in balance. In other words, we can't ignore it. We've got to actually nourish it, pay attention. Now let's go a step further. This is some more information to ponder from Valerie, again from Valerie. And that, by the way, that's a picture of Jordan just before we founded Soul Naturals. He's aged a little. Interesting points here from Valerie. 90% of diseases potentially tied to an unhealthy colon. Now, I've heard that from several sources. I know Val has. That the relationship between what's going on in the colon and the connection there is almost always tied to whatever else the other health situation is. Look at the second point. The colon has fewer nerves and the distress signals are not as distinct. So Valerie's showing, look, in some processes, we get an immediate alert. Unfortunately, there is no settings for our colon where it's like pass on like on our phone, turn on all the alerts, because there aren't as many. And so what that means to all of us is a lot can be going on and is going on. I'm not going to say can be in today's world, that we're not feeling or seeing about until it's a bigger issue, if we're not in a habit of taking care of the traffic in the colon boss. So yes, that's an interesting fact. We're approaching 1 billion. When Valerie wrote this, it's probably gone up. We were 750 million spent yearly on laxatives. So traffic is a problem. We don't talk about it, and everybody's got it, nearly. Fourth point, Valerie says, anytime it takes you 10 minutes to complete a bowel movement, you're constipated. So if you put the timer, I don't care if you come out in 9:32, you're still constipated. When it's that long for a train to pull out of the station, we got issues. Next point, she says, a person who suffers from bowel constipation might very well also have tissue constipation. Now, you'll have to ask Valerie all the nuance about that. In my mind, when I've got toxins, things that need to move out of my body, stay in there. And when they get recycled and recirculated, of course, they're going to pass through tissues and cells again. And they may not always get removed every time. Depends on what we have going on. An example is our lymph doesn't move very well. If we're fairly sedentary, things can stay a long time and cause a lot more work for the body. So colon health and the situation in our colon is a huge contributor to this situation. And then the last point that Valerie makes is sometimes chronic diarrhea, I know people in that situation, they can be taking the absolute opposite health supplement for what they need because it can indicate constipation. In other words, it can happen because the the traffic is so heavy and backed up that things are not cleared out. There's all sorts of buildup there that needs to be clarified, as we'd say here in Solle. So, interesting thoughts to ponder. What can we do about it? Well, tonight we're talking about something we can do about it. And you know what? It can maybe, frustrate you or stress you a little to think of all that goes that's tied into colon health and trying to get things back on the fast track there. It's not always easy for some people. But one thought that's super simple is if we can find a way to make fast track a part of our routine, we can make a difference. And I'll try to explain why. First of all, looking at fast track, these are the ingredients: 2 kinds of cascara, so an extract that's more concentrated and the full bark powder, 2 kinds of aloe vera, the whole leaf, and also an intense concentration of the soothing inner gel, holy basil, which is an adaptogen, and then the complete prime chlorophyll blend, which is 4 different chlorophyll sources, the same that we use in Solle Vital. These are all the ingredients in FasTract. So let's just mention a little bit about them. First of all, holy basil. That is known as Tulsi. Some places you'll see it as Tulsi. That is the adaptogen and one of the most amazing adaptogens in several of our Clarify formulas. Nowhere does it have a larger role than it does in FasTract. This is known as an herb that nourishes a person's growth to perfect health and promotes long life. Now, this comes from its cultural background, used in Ayurveda, used in China and any of the really developed herbal traditions, because it is a wonderful relaxant to the central nervous system, nourishes the liver and several of the detoxing processes, and is nourishing to our nerves. So it is a really great fit for a product that is focused in detoxifying. It's also used, you can see the third point, in cases, think of it emotionally for a minute, situations of stagnant depression. So where someone cannot move on, stuck because of something in their life that is a smaller or a bigger trauma, but not one that they can move past easily. Holy basil is something that's been used in these herbal traditions in these situations. Now, it's an interesting one if you start to think about the reflex points and in the colon and a little bit of what Valerie taught us.
It's interesting, we were talking the other day that you were talking about how, the colon being stopped up can affect your mood, and really change that, but also your mood can go the other way, and when you're stressed or when different
the inverse.
The inverse. So you can actually affect your colon and its elimination abilities by your emotions and your mood, which is so interesting to me that when you're building a product, you're thinking about the synergy of all the different pieces in there. And at first you would go, why are you putting holy basil in there? Mm-hmm. And one of the properties, is this of all adaptogens is stress, and so I think that's very interesting.
Yeah, it's a key point. In fact, if you think about it for a second, if you've ever known someone that's gone through a super stressful time, like some huge shocker hits their life, how many of them do you know, if you know them well enough that you can talk this way, that become quite severely constipated for a day or 2 or 3 or even a week or 2? That's not as uncommon as people think. The stress can be such that it literally shuts down the train station. And that's the example of what you're saying, where the stress itself brings this problem. And then there's the inverse, where other physical factors, it can be what we're eating and what we're not eating, and so we don't get all the nutrients that the body needs or enough water or enough fiber for the trains to be moving down the track. And over time, that buildup starts to erode at mood, and we start to experience even strong emotions and mood swings that would not be typical, and frankly, weren't so much about the stresses we were confronting as they were about our physical health habits. Yeah. So holy basil recognizes both those because it does help in some of the clearing out, but it's also a calmer and like you said, it's an adaptogen that helps us have a healthier stress response to tough situations. And so it kind of works on both ends of that spectrum. Mm-hmm. In fact, that actually does lead us to the next point. This again came from Valerie. She shared this book, very fascinating, by Carol Truman, Feelings Buried Alive Never Die. Look at these 4 points to do with colon health and the emotions that the author has found, the connection between this situation. So this is the traffic situation. This is the traffic report, okay, constipation. Emotionally unwilling to release old feelings and beliefs, resisting the flow of life. Okay. Second one, colitis. So inflammation, even to the point of being ulcerative. A person feeling like a martyr, unable to express hostility or anger or their feelings to whom they feel them in the situations that they're in or have been in. Third one, a variety of other elimination problems, because elimination problems can be different for everybody. All of them having to do with holding on to past experiences, deep subconscious resentments. And then the last one, spastic colon. So that's the colon. You're up, you're fast, you're slow, you're in, you're out. You're just, it's never very constant, intense feelings of insecurity. So what she did, and what Valerie's teaching us is, we need to look at the feelings in this aspect. This is back to your point about adaptogens. Why do adaptogens need to be in a colon activating problem? Because there is that direct connection, and it's the circle. So one can cause the other, and the other can cause the one. And there's a mixture of all of that, and some very interesting insights from people who have dealt a lot with others and have listened to them and have seen what they're going through physically, what their colon's going through, and then connected those with the emotions or the life situations that they had. So pretty interesting, isn't it?
Yeah.
Okay, so let's continue with the ingredients. So now aloe vera. The next ingredient's aloe vera. Member of the lily family, really great for soothing, healing, burns, internal and external. So internal. So think of damage internally like ulcerative conditions, or as Valerie points out here, X-rays, radiation, things that get inside. Okay, aloe vera is in 2 forms: inflammation, stomach ulcers, constipation, hemorrhoids. All these things are strengthened or supported, improved with the addition of aloe vera in our diet. So you see in the picture this wonderful inner leaf gel. Both forms are in FasTract. The whole leaf, so that we have the help in the whole clarifying role that aloe vera plays, but there is a 200 times extract. That is something Blake shared when we launched this product, of the inner gel. So the soothing gel, there's a small amount, but it's 200 times extracted of these soothing, healing, I believe they're polysaccharides from the inner leaf gel to help heal. So that's why FasTract is more than just moving the traffic along. It's not just, the police cars clearing everybody out, but it's also making the environment and the colon in a stronger position and a more balanced situation. Aloe vera is a big part of that. Now, chlorophyll is the next one, and chlorophyll is part of Solvital. Same blend here, and for the same reasons, because chlorophyll does all these things. It helps alkalize too much acid. It supports the friendly bacteria so that they'll grow. It neutralizes chemicals. So example here, this is again from Valerie's training, for instance, artificial fertilizer, residues that are in some foods. Cleans and deodorizes. This is a great deodorizer. A person doing this is not going to have, let's just say, there's always around the train station, there's a lot of exhaust, okay? It's not going to be so offensive. It's going to improve that situation. Soothing ulcerated tissues, hemorrhoids, again, chlorophyll. People don't always think of chlorophyll for that. and other toxins. So things that shouldn't stay in the body that need to get pushed out. Chlorophyll actually helps do that. So it does all these things, and that's why it's in the formula. Now, I think this is the last one of the ingredients, and it's the Cascara sagrada. Means literally sacred bark. What is its purpose? Well, actually, several. We used to talk about it, and a lot of people talk about Cascara. Oh, that's just to move the trains along. And it does. That's why we have the concentrated extract. But the concentrated extract of Cascara is wrapped in a blanket of the full bark powder. Why? Because Cascara, not only is it useful in moving traffic along in a wonderful way, but it also is stimulating to the liver and nourishing to the liver. It will actually stimulate bile production. Remember that bile, I'll just give you a couple of facts about bile that were taught by the scientists. Number one, when we're getting enough water and enough fiber, and we've got a good, strong presence of bile, our body binds with toxins and cleans things out. Things that need to get out of us. I'm talking about chemicals and all sorts of toxic substances that are just part of our life. So bile is huge in that whole detox. But also the liver, which does hundreds and hundreds of things that we know of, maybe it's thousands, when it becomes inflamed, like in a large liver that Valerie points out in this slide. Remember, the liver is what produces bile, but the gallbladder just stores it, right, and concentrates it. So the liver is also aided by not only this Cascara, but also, I think I mentioned the holy basil. It's supported there. So Cascara in a natural form that is holistic as we use it here is not habit forming like other laxatives can be, where the person becomes dependent and actually the boss colon becomes weak and less effective and more dependent. That is not the case with a good quality Cascara sagrada, especially in the forms that we have. So, yes, Cascara sagrada, sacred bark, a big part. And it's funny, when I first learned about this many years ago, being first introduced to herbs by so many wonderful people, I was thinking, really, sacred bark? Sacred? Sacred. And now thinking back to the colon as a boss story. Okay, I see what they mean. This part that controls and influences virtually everything and can shut down mood real quickly or improve mood. I mean, think of the inverse side when things are, headaches or stress, and all of a sudden you can help somebody move the trains out. Am I not several degrees happier right away? I certainly am. I don't know about you, Kendall. I'll speak for myself.
Yeah.
So, some summary benefits, 2 slides of summaries. These are again from Valerie's training. All right. Detoxing. FasTract is an important part of clarifying. Almost anyone can benefit. I think Valerie put almost anyone because it's really tough to just put everyone, even though it's everyone. We'll say almost everyone. There might be someone who's so good in the way they're eating and living that everything's just flowing perfect, But I just don't know that person. So let's say almost anyone can benefit, though. The goal here with FasTract, remove the cause of disease before we get sick. Okay? The colon, if we can remove it, let the body, all those body processes that want to remove things, do it in a timely way, we save ourselves all sorts of suffering. Third point, there's more chemical exposure today than ever before. Why? Because we're creating more. We put them in everything. Okay? Again, another need for detoxing. Fourth point, none of us is immune to environmental toxins. They're virtually impossible to escape from. That's true. Even you think of, I don't live out in the Midwest where there are these vast farmlands where they're using chemicals and crop dusting. And there's really interesting research that shows how winds can blow those literally at the other side of the U.S. And they're still there in noticeable parts per million in the air. So we can't really escape from all that, not entirely. And detoxing, it's amazingly built into all of us. If we support it, we nourish it, and it's part of our awareness, we can jumpstart the healing process for whatever we're working on. And anything that we're doing will do what it's trying to do better when we clarify. And FasTract's part of clarify. So the final slide, these key benefits of FasTract. Yes, it's a natural, non-addictive laxative, helps stimulate the colon in such a way that the trains move down the track. It is cleansing as well. I think we've explained that. It gives overall intestinal support even to help rebuild it and soothe it and repair where the tracts have been damaged. And it's also got this wonderful neuroprotecting adaptogen called holy basil that supports mood, memory, the liver, and protects nerves. And then finally, it is alkalizing and pH balancing. Another real problem that leads to inflammation, pain, and problems is lifestyles high in sugar, sodas, red meats that create a lot of acid, and our body can't do what it's trying to do. The prime chlorophyll blend is a neutralizer of that, is a great help in that battle. So those are the points that we wanted to bring out today on FasTract. I hope this can be a game changer for you. And if you can pass this on to someone else, the odds are really high they need it. I'll just say that, within or without Solle. What great information to have. Kendall, yes, I don't know if there are any other questions or comments.
So FasTract is a great product for detoxing. We have other products. So if you were going to detox, what other products would you pair that with?
Well, for me, this is the most, because we've talked a lot about the colon tonight, this is the most targeted to the colon.
Sure.
But if you're going to do more complete detox, then of course we have the package, which is the Good Tract. And that particular package pairs it with Soul Vital and Omnitox. And I'm trying to think of what else is in that one.
Good vibrations.
And good fiber and fiber. So you got the fiber. We don't need enough fiber. Almost none of us get enough fiber. So, and I would pair it with water. If we could show a jug of water in that package too, we'd want to show it. Lots more water, lots of fiber. You can broaden the Omnitox, which is this all cell in a future show. I'm sure we'll talk about it. That gets into things. And then of course, you do have, like in that package, you have the Soul Vital. I'm trying to think, it's just Vital in that package, right? Not Cinemate. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Thank you. Excellent. Very interesting. I learned a lot today, so I'm thankful for that, Greg. Thank you so much. Now it's the time of the show where we like to visit with somebody who has experience with the product and had a good experience. We have somebody on today who's been around. I've known her for years, and we just love her. And she's going to share her story with us. Becky Deckelbaum, how are you?
I'm great, Kendall. Thanks for having me.
Joining us. And why don't you go ahead and tell us your story about FasTract?
Well, as you know, I've been around for a while, and it was specifically for my daughter. She had been taking some products to help with chronic constipation problems. So when I went to convention in June of 2016, when FasTract was released, I was pretty excited to add this into her routine. We had already been using Good Vibrations and actually the Soul Complete to really help soothe her her gut. And so when this came along and I told her it was a colon activator, she was a little nervous, but we gave it a try. And the way she described it is that she had no discomfort and she was having better evacuation, and she wasn't having to knock people over to go to the bathroom. So that really helped her when we added that to her routine. And what I loved about the product right from the beginning is you get 90 capsules in a bottle, but you can really adapt that to what your specific needs are. So you can take one capsule. That's where we started with her. But then there were times that we felt like that wasn't enough, so we could up it. So I like that it was not something that caused her pain, and it didn't really keep her running to the bathroom. And so some of the side effects, what I call side effects, with the adaptogens in it is her mood really improved when adding this product. I think it's nice that Greg featured Val today and talked about this product and how she taught this to us at convention. But something else I learned from Val was when we're in utero, that cell that divides, part of it goes to the brain and the other part goes to the gut. So that connection between the two can't be avoided. So as she was having better elimination, it also improved her mood. And yeah, we were excited to add that to her routine.
Yeah, that's great to hear. I'm glad to hear that it was soothing for her. That's one thing that I think is fantastic about it, is it's very soothing, and you know, one is, and it's very powerful too. One is plenty for me. Is that it has all these herbs in there that help fix the issues in the gut. So sometimes, you know, you can take it for a while and then you don't need it anymore. Is she one of those that is still takes it religiously, or has been able to get off of it and move on?
She keeps it in her health toolbox.
Yeah.
So for the times when she needs it, it's always available. But it's not something that she requires every day, because as she got through a health crisis, she had better regulation of her bowel, and she's feeling much better and just has it for when she needs it.
Yeah, that's great. Thank you. I'm so glad that you came to that convention and were one of the first people to get your hands on that and had some success. So thank you for joining us today. See you later. Thank you. It's always good to talk with Becky. She's fun. So our next episode of Why Soul Works will be on April 11th, and we'll be talking about soul megas. So if you have a story you would like to share about soul megas, please contact me via email at kendall@soulnaturals.com and let me know that you have a story that you'd like to share, and I'll feature you on our next show. Thank you, and we'll see you next time.